So I'm here to talk about fabric first and quality compliance. Swip, a specialist system designer, material manufacturer, and material supplier into the retrofit market. So we generally deal with approved contractors installing in eco and non-eco schemes, and what a retrofit world we're in at the moment. So what I'm going to do is address the elephant in the industry, which landed a couple of days ago in the form of the National Audit Office report, which I'm probably sure you've all heard about. And a lot of numbers are being bandied about at the moment in terms of non-compliance and failures. So what I'm going to do is put some context behind that numbers before I talk about Swip's approach to quality compliance as a responsible system designer and what we do in the industry to make sure we're maintaining and enhancing some of the standards when it comes to fabric installs being put in people's properties. So let's look at the numbers. We've 72,000 solid wall properties have roughly been installed under Eco 4. That's roughly 42,000 internal wall jobs, and around about 30,000 external wall jobs. So you might be surprised by those numbers, where internal wall is a much more dominant measure when it comes to solid wall overall. So you've probably heard some of these figures banded around. 98% major issues on EWI insulation, external wall. 29% major issues with internal wall insulation. Non-compliance has been estimated on those properties. 72,000 solid walls as a whole. The way those numbers have been got to is by a 1% sample of actual on-site audits. 738 properties have been physically inspected after the Ofgem numbers went out, or the Ofgem letters, and the inspections were done against the 38 suspended contractors. So the contractors that have already been identified for poor quality work. So let's put that into context. So 738 properties inspected, issues have been highlighted and identified, and what's happened is those numbers have been extrapolated amongst the 72,000, 1% sample. Okay, so that's kind of the story behind the numbers. So when you hear 98% failure, that's extrapolated amongst that 1% sample. The 28% major failures for internal wall, that's been extrapolated. It's not the reality. I'm sure there's some poor quality work which has been done out there by some poor quality contractors. But if you're going to look for poor quality jobs, you're going to go to those contractors that you know have been identified for poor quality. But let's not forget the good work which is being done out there. So there's a lot more work to do with Ofgem, who we're working with. We're working with certification bodies, and any issues or support we can provide as a responsible system designer, we're willing to do so, and we are doing so. But in terms of the non-compliance, some of the non-compliance in the industry have been identified. I'm sure there's mold or condensation on a small proportion of these properties, but some of these major non-compliance which have been identified is because a piece of paperwork's not been provided to evidence that the flue's been done properly. A trickle vent is not to the correct standard. Mechanical extract ventilation is continuous as opposed to intermittent, or vice versa. So I just wanted to address that elephant in the industry, because I'm here to talk about how we approach quality compliance. I thought it was very important to put that story out there and a little bit of information behind those numbers. And I'm sure I'll have questions a little bit later on, no doubt, about this. So, in terms of my experience, look, I've been involved in retrofit for 24 years. I started off looking at cavity wall insulation inspections, but Swip as a business has been involved since after we looked at all the cavities, after we looked at all the loss as an industry, then we started to focus on the hard to treat properties. So CESP finished in 2012. We fast forward to Eco 1, Eco 2, standards and the way we operate in the retrofit space has changed dramatically over those schemes. And now we've got ourselves into a position of Eco 4, where standards were supposed to be much better. We're supposed to increase those standards. And everything in the industry in terms of retrofit assessment, coordination, certification bodies, guarantees, on paper the standards look great. It's a matter of industry stepping up and the stakeholders stepping up to actually do what they're supposed to be doing and to ensure that contractors aren't gaming. We take compliance extremely seriously. We are a responsible system designer. We're not here to sell material and just leave everyone to get on with it. We provide so much more in terms of our value proposition, and that's what we're going to be going through. So when Room in the Roof was first introduced into Eco-Free, there were no standards. It was go out there and install any single product, buy it off the shelf, install it great or unintentionally install it incorrectly. But 25-year warranties were then introduced. That's where Swip stepped in. We created an approved contractor scheme, we created a training process, and we created an inspection process and provided 25-year warranties through the likes of SWIGA, quality mark protection in the IEA. So as a system designer, our primary systems are internal wall insulation, room in the roof, we have a loft storage system. But I'm not here to talk about those systems in great detail now, but feel free to come to our stand and we can talk more detail about specifications and why our systems are fit for purpose and why we are the market leaders when it comes to internal wall insulation and room in the roof under eco schemes. Swipsure is the value proposition which I want to get across to people in this room, and a message we're trying to push out in the industry, and that message is starting to get heard. We work with social housing providers, local authorities, retrofit assessors, retrofit coordinators, the contractors, the architects. We are a delivery partner. We're not just here to supply material. It's important that we are involved from identifying a property to design to on-site. So we provide a comprehensive training program. All installers are identified, general builders, dry liners, joiners, identify that the skill set is already there. They go through a comprehensive 2 to 3 hour training program online to understand our system, to understand how that is installed compliantly under PAS and under the retrofit world that we operate in with all these different standards and accreditations. Once that installer's trained, there is a first time inspection for the first inspection to make sure everything we've taught them has sunk in. Installing the systems are not rocket science, but it needs to be installed specifically to address thermal bridging, ventilation, and all those different elements that are involved in PAS to ensure good quality retrofit and a comfortable warm home for that homeowner, tenant. After that first time inspection's done, and the further support we provide in the technical support service is if a contractor's on site and they come across a detail they're unsure about, they can have a video call there and then with our technical support team to have a look at what do we do in that particular area, we're not quite sure. Okay, I can see what you're talking about. This is how we get around that obstacle. The job continues, there are no delays. I would rather an installer contact our technical support team on a video call 20 times a day, get it done right first time. That's what we need to try and do. We will review technical survey documents. Technical surveys are a real pain in the neck for me because sometimes they're not done. Sometimes somebody doesn't go to the property, look at the radiator, look at the coving, look at the skirting board. It's about managing customers' expectations, making sure the contractor understands what they're doing before they enter that property. So we provide specification, CAD drawings, design details. We provide information on BAE's best practice guide. We look at technical monitoring failures. Sometimes these failures aren't really justified. And some of the perceived failures or non-compliance that have been identified via the auditors, and I'd love to speak to the auditors to understand exactly what they've come across with our systems, because we've got data, we've got surface temperature calculations, we've got information to justify why, is that really a thermal bridge, or is it just we've used less insulation because of an area of limited space or a window detail? We're working with Ofgem, we're working with Trustmark, or banging my head against the brick wall sometimes with Trustmark, for them to share the data with the system designer so we can take a look at the audit you've provided. We can either provide evidence to say, okay, that's actually not a problem, but you're right to actually raise that, or actually something needs to be remediated there. We're here to support, we welcome engagement and communication. We provide U-value calculations and all the other standard technical support that you would expect. Something unique in the industry that Swip provide is our warranty process. So every single job which is installed, or every single Swip measure that's installed with our approved contractors, they have to submit for a Swip warranty. Why is that important? Because if you don't get a Swip warranty, You will not get your 25-year eco guarantee from the likes of the IEA, from Quality Mark Protection, or from Swiga. Because they know we're a safe pair of hands, the installers have to upload the entire portfolio of photographs of that particular job. Our warranties team won't just scan through those photographs, they will rigorously run through every single detail to make sure the materials are correct, specification is correct, is there anything untoward. So if they don't get past this, they don't get their eco warranty or social housing decarb warranty, therefore they don't get the funding. So a safe pair of hands, serious about compliance, serious about quality, that's what the industry needs to do with all stakeholders. So, no Swip warranty, no eco warranty from those guys, no funding. So I'll run through the technical support service and what we've done in terms of technical monitoring. So we've got the guarantee process, the warranty, that's one layer of compliance. And I mentioned we do a first-time inspection, but not only a first-time inspection, over the past 6 months, we are stepping up to do 100% technical monitoring on every single job. You know, some people in the industry are talking about 10%, 20%. No, we've got to try and aim higher. We've got to aim for 100%. It's a journey that we're on. You know, sometimes we may be hitting 30%, 40%, but we are striving to head towards to 100. Okay. The way we're doing that is by two ways. Internal inspections, so physical on-site. So that will be physical on-site, Swip regional technical managers, on-site managing the quality, producing reports against the quality of that installer. So that individual installer, that report is lodged against that individual installer. The warranty that he's installed on is lodged against that installer and it's recorded. We're also doing that via desktop. What I mean by that is internal regional technical managers who have the video call, because we can't expect to hit 100% by visiting every single site. It's just going to be impossible. So we can do that via video call. So we'll have a video call with the installer, 20 minutes at each stage of the install potentially. We walk around the property. Has the studs been installed correctly? Is the insulation been friction fitted in between? Is the vapor control air installed and taped correctly? Looking at all these different elements to make sure we're satisfied. So that's how we're looking to achieve 100% technical monitoring. I mentioned that we've been part of this government-led initiative. So we're working with Ofgem. We had some great conversations with Ofgem in Scotland a couple of weeks ago, the quality compliance team there, and they was impressed with what we're doing. They didn't understand what we were doing. The industry needs to be even more cautious after this report. You know, retrofit coordinators need to be on site. They need to verify the work which is being done is actually the work that they've planned into that coordination. Managing the risk and the legacy, not just important for Swip, but massively important for the industry. Now, we don't have to do what we're doing at the moment, and this is another frustration of mine, where the warranties, the inspections, the training, the technical support, there's no accreditation, there's no governance, there's no standards which say we have to do this as a system designer, but we're trying to push the industry to do so because we think it's the right thing to do. It's the only thing we can do. So that's kind of my story about Swip, who we are, what we do. I hope that's been informative, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions.